you have heard about bullying or have been bullied or has been a victim of bullying? Raise your hand. Majority of us have heard of it, right? Okay. As you have seen or heard about people talking about bullying or have been victims seeing it, the rates of bullying have been going up from years to years. According to a research survey, bullying occurs everywhere due to the National Youth Violence Prevention Center. Almost 30% of students have been bullied. That makes 5.7 million students involved in bullying. Estimated to take part in bullying, either bullying others or being bullied. Bullying can affect anyone. According to a 2007 national representative poll by the Workplace Bullying Institute, 37% of workforce, which makes 54 employees, being bullied in their work time. Some of you could relate bullying. Approximately 1 in 4 youth are affected by bullying during the school year, negatively impacting many children, parents, and individuals in our schools and communities. Now we'll tell you the differences between physical bullying and verbal bullying. Bullying is an aggressive behavior that involves an imbalance of power or strength. Bullying has been around for many years and can take so many forms of being bullied, such as hitting, punching, or shoving is an example of physical bullying. Teasing, naming, and calling, or sexual remarks is an example of verbal bullying. According to a website on bullying statistics, physical bullying is a serious problem. It's affected not only by the bully or the victims, but also by the students who witness them. There are many types of negative physical interactions that can occur between young people, including fighting, practical joking, stealing, or sexual harassment. Physical bullying occurs most often at schools, although it can occur at school after school. Bullying can also occur in the earlier grades as well as high school and even in adulthood. According to a website, physical bullying is more likely to occur among males. They have an impact in them since they want more control over others. Victims of physical bullying are usually physically weaker than bullies. Now I will show you a video of what physical bullying looks like. The reason they have their mouth covered is because people witness them being bullied and they don't speak up for them. The people that don't speak up for them and the ones that are being bullied are afraid. They're afraid to speak up on their own because they're scared that something else is more going to happen to them. Okay, now I am going to tell you what is verbal bullying. Verbal bullying can affect many students. According to an article, bullying statistics, in many cases verbal bullying is more often seen on girls. Girls use verbal bullying to show their hate towards another girl. Verbal bullying can affect one's self-image and affect someone in an emotional and physiological way. Many people who are affected by verbal bullying don't want to speak up. The reason why is because they're afraid. Now I'm going to show you another video that shows the differences between physical and verbal.
Words hurt. Don't be a part of it.
As you saw in the video, words actually get to people and it could lead to suicide and them being just afraid to be socialized with other people. They try to just corner themselves and not talk to other ones. However, bullying is quite difficult to stop. The bullying statistic 2010 revealed that bullying is a problem that is not going away anytime soon. There are about 1,600 children that miss school every day out of the fear of being bullied. As I show you in both videos, it's always important as we see others being bullied to stand up for them, help them out, and just reach out to them to see what's wrong with them. Thank you.
So Daniel, what did you think?
I think the speech was good. She had a lot of citations, a lot of statistics. The videos she shared were relevant. Everything. Overall, it was a good speech.
Okay. Well, I'm not excited about the audience survey at the beginning, but you did follow it up with some good statistical information, and I think that that works a little bit better as your attention device. That's fine. The notion of everybody being bullied, I think that that's an important justification for us to listen to this. I know what the topic is. I generally get the idea about where you're headed with the purpose statement, but I do think it could be more specific. There is a preview. You have a tendency, I think, to rush a couple of words when you're saying them. I remember the other day when I thought that you were talking about bowling instead of bullying. Yeah. I got the bullying on this one. The first time you were talking, though, about physical and some other kind of bullying, I couldn't tell what it was that you were saying. I think you kind of drop your voice a little bit. But I got it eventually, you know, and the nice thing is you had a visual reference to it also, but that'll be something that you want to kind of pay attention to. We're going to work on delivery things starting today, and projecting more, looking up, slowing down a little bit. Those are all ways to kind of address those sorts of issues. I thought you had like I said, the preview is very basic. You're just going to be talking about the two types of bullying, but what you're going to say about each of them, I think it's mostly definitional in nature. And so you start with a definition, which I think is good. You've got a pretty good description. I also heard some source citations being presented early on, and I appreciated that. Although there was one source citation that was a little bit vague. It comes down to a website said, and I have no idea what this website was, you know, so you want to be more consistent about citing the sources in the body of the speech. The division is okay. Like I said, it's pretty basic. It's a topical structure that you're using here. The move to the second point is not particularly graceful. It just seems like it shows up. Hard right turn here, and we're going to verbal bullying. The videos that you have, the little public service announcements, are fine. They're both relatively brief, which I think is appropriate for a short speech. You don't want to spend all your time with a bunch of visual stuff here. Sometimes I think you kind of are using it to explain something. It might be better to use it to introduce something, because it really feels like it's more about getting our attention than it is describing something, even though we do get a little bit of a description in each of those points. It might be useful, for example, to use them right at the beginning of each section and then go back and say, this is a pretty good illustration of the kind of thing that happens with physical bullying. Kids shoving each other, tripping one another, actually getting into fights or threatening to do so. You know, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. And then go back to your definition, and you can talk about that and integrate it a little bit better together. And then when you get to, well, let's talk about verbal bullying also. And talking about it is what verbal activity is, but let me show you something first. And then you get the example there. And then the same sort of thing that where you then go into what those descriptions are. There was a reference in that second description, to potentially people being suicidal as a consequence of that. I didn't hear any data on that. I think there's probably good data on that. You had a piece of information at one point that talked about the number of kids that avoid going to school because of bullying. I think that would be something that would fit into that section pretty well also. I thought you handled the videos pretty well. You had them in the slideshow. They came up quickly. You got through them fast. You usually talked as you were setting them up and when you were done with them. So I think that that's a good idea. I just think placement would probably be better at the beginning of each section. And then what you're talking about afterwards would make a little bit more sense. There's a little bit... Like I said, we're not emphasizing the delivery thing right now. We're going to be talking about that. You have a tendency to kind of present it in a sort of dry way. You need to be a little bit more engaged. There's a term that we're going to talk about called immediacy, and you need to have a sense that this is important to you. You want it to be important to other people, that you're engaging us. And right now, it's like you're reading a report to us instead of engaging us, and you want to get past that stage. Some of that's about anxiety issues, some of it's about practice. All right, thank you.